All right. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gonzo'S Sports Room, G.S.R. Big show tonight. Got a lot of stuff going on in the sports world with NBA free agency, KD demanding a trade. A lot going on. Got a special guest again tonight joining me for the second time in a row, the sports judge, Jonathan Mathis. How you doing tonight, man?
Hey, what's up, Chris? Man, hey, you know what? It's always fun being on the show. You do great work, and it's a pleasure to be back on again on this Friday, a 3-day weekend. I'm feeling good. Let's get right to it.
Happy Friday to you too, Eddie Rodriguez. Yeah, it's man, this NBA free agency is taking off quick. And then Kevin Durant, I think, threw a curveball at everybody after he demanded a trade from the Nets. How you think this is going to unfold?
Yeah, it definitely sent a shock ray through the league, right? Um, a lot of people didn't expect him to, demand a trade. Um, it's surprising in a sense, but Chris, is it really that surprising? Because this is a guy who has shown time and time again that he's not going to play if there's not a superstar playing alongside him. This is a guy who's going to bail,
Yep.
on his team when, times get tough. This is a guy who's going to, ditch his team to play for an already stacked roster. You know, and this is a guy who has also showed that he cannot lead his team, that he cannot take charge. Now he has the skills, he has the skill set. He's a dynamic player. He's widely regarded as one of the best scorers in NBA history. We can't deny that about him. He has the undeniable talent. The problem is that this guy cannot stay put. And I mean, do you take your chances on him? Do you package a deal? Do you package a deal? Because this is going to be massive. You're going to have to give up a lot of assets for this guy. So, are you sure you want to package a deal for a player who may not be committed to plan for your franchise in the near future? He may just be there to get another championship ring, and then when it all falls apart, he's gonna leave. He's gonna once again request a trade. That's been the constant pattern, right? With KD.
Yep.
But do you blame him as well? Because look, I mean, he stood up for himself in a sense. You can say he did, and people didn't understand what I meant by that when I said that the other day. What I mean by him standing up for himself is that he doesn't want to waste his precious years in Brooklyn, you know, and you a plan with a guy by the name of Kyrie Irving. Here's why. You can't trust Kyrie. So I think that's why Durant is pulling the James Harden here, and all of a sudden he is demanding a trade because he knows that Kyrie is not fully committed, that Kyrie cannot be trusted, that Kyrie is not that sidekick after all. He's
Yeah.
not he's not that guy that you can depend on and that you can rely on because he's unreliable and he's not dependable. And KD realizes that, so now he wants out. But this is gonna be tough. It's gonna be a busy off season. It's gonna be some sleepless nights for Sean Marks. And I'm interested to see what the Nets general manager does and how he goes about this. Because look, I don't think this trade is as easy as it seems. This is going to be complicated. It's not as easy as it looks to
No,
trade him.
no, it's not.
It's really not. And Kevin Durant, although these players assume a lot of power nowadays, and they can, pretty much dictate where their next destination is, that's going to be a little bit tough for Durant to decide where he wants to go. We all saw how Kyrie,
he don't have that leverage,
right? And that's the same thing we saw with Kawhi Leonard.
and ended up in Toronto where he didn't want to be at all.
He ended up getting shipped out of the country.
Yep.
And so I mean, that's a good example there, and how this can end up being for KD. It'll be interesting to see. But before I let you have the floor, I will say this, my friend. This was a colossal failure by the Brooklyn Nets. This was the biggest disappointment in NBA history, because this team came in as preseason favorites, right? They came in as preseason favorites to win it all. The odds, favored them to win it all. And, this was disappointing.
Oh, yeah. And I think what took KD over the line, where he finally decided that he was going to leave the Nets, and that's why it came out the day of free agency, was I think he was going to stay with the Nets. But then when Kyrie Irving was looking for somewhere else to go, I think KD realized, I'm committed to this dude, but he's not committed to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's looking for somewhere else to go. And I think that's when Durant decided, I'm getting out of here. Durant, man, we know how great of a player Durant is. It's his mentals. It's mentally. He lets people out in the outside world get to him. He has to clap back at everybody. He can't take any kind of criticism.
Right.
And like you said, he's not a leader.
Right.
I mean, OKC, they were up 3-1 over the Warriors in that series. They lose that series. Then he leaves that team instead of trying to build add a piece and try to beat them.
Yep.
He went and joined them.
Yep.
But then when he couldn't be the number one guy there, because to the fans, Steph was always going to be number one in Golden State. And he knew that. So since he couldn't take that over, he teams up with Kyrie, which I don't know why you would do, because Kyrie's, like you say, he's not reliable. He hasn't played more than 65 games in the last 7 seasons. So we know he's not reliable. In the last two or three seasons, it's been worse.
Yeah. And you know what, Matt, my friend, this is bad news for the Nets. This is really bad news. But they contribute to their own demise by trusting in these two superstars who, couldn't even keep their promise. They couldn't even keep their promise. And so, as feared, Brooklyn is about to undergo, a complete overhaul of its roster. And how quick did this come to an end? It lasted no time.
What do you think it's going to take? What do you think it's going to take for the Nets to trade him?
Ooh.
And let me tell you my thoughts on this real quick.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to take everything in the kitchen sink, because the Utah Jazz just got 5 players and 4 draft picks from Minnesota for Rudy Gobert. Now, if you can get 5 players and 4 draft picks for Rudy Gobert, just think what the Nets are going to be asking for Kevin Durant.
It's gonna be a massive overhaul. I mean, it's gonna be a lot.
But that's the problem for a team bringing Durant in, is because you're going to get Durant, but you're going to be depleting the rest of your roster.
Right. And if you're making this trade, what you're telling everyone is that you want to win now. This is a trade that you do to win now. This is not a trade that you do to build a foundation or to build for the future. This is a trade that you're making so you can win now.
And if you don't win within the next 2 or 3 seasons, then you're going to be in rebuild mode.
That would be a colossal failure if you don't win with Durant on your roster. Absolutely. But now with Durant leaving a city for another one once again, we're left wondering who willingly, could give up a lot to acquire him in a trade.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest question. It's unclear where he's going at this point. It really is
Yeah,
unclear.
you hear everybody say, "Oh,"
certain,
you
but
hear
it's
everybody.
almost certain. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I was gonna say you hear everybody say that. Oh yeah, they're all 29 teams are going to be interested in him. This no, they're not.
No,
A couple reasons. Some teams don't have the assets to even be involved in it or the
right,
money.
right.
You have some that like they think their team might be just a piece away, and they don't think they need to bring in a Durant. So I mean, it's going to limit who's really wanting to gut some of their roster up to go get him and
He
go.
already kind of knows where he wants to go, though.
Yeah.
It's almost certain Durant is going to go
But the thing is,
somewhere he
the
can
Nets don't
win
have to send
a
him
title right
there. But the Nets don't have to send him there. What,
Right, right.
what if it
But
happens like you said earlier? What if we get a Kawhi situation where somebody else offers a better deal?
right,
And
right.
you,
And that's the thing. But he
yeah, he
really
wants to be.
go
Yeah, he wants to be in.
where he can win a title right now. And high on Durant's wish list of potential landing spots are the Phoenix Suns
Yep.
and the Miami Heat. And of course, those are the two teams on the top of his list because when you look at how those rosters are constructed, they're really only one superstar away from realistically winning an NBA championship. So I can see why those are the two teams that he has picked as his preferred destinations.
What do you think the Suns try to do? Put Aiton and
Yeah,
another couple other players and some draft picks.
right. But here's the thing with Aiton: isn't he a free agent? So you would have to.
Yeah, he has. You got to get him to opt in.
Yeah, you gotta get him to opt in and do a sign-in trade.
Yep.
That's the only way that would be.
Because if you lose Aiton before that trade, who are you going to trade that the Nets are going to want?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And while Durant has displayed his breathtaking talent, because again, that's no denying that, he displayed his breathtaking talent in his first full season with the Nets, but he also showed a lapse in judgment and commitment. And that was his problem in OKC. And then, again, it was the stunning move that he was leaving the Bay Area to,
It happened right on 4th of July.
right,
It might happen
right,
again
right,
this time.
right. And he left for Brooklyn and for a partnership with Kyrie Irving. And now that he sees that it's not working out, he wants to demand a trade.
Yeah, so I remember when he left for Golden State on 4th of July. I was at a cookout at a buddy's house. All of a sudden, my phone just started going crazy.
Yeah, it was on the 4th of July, right? Yeah.
And it could happen on the 4th this year. But I think the Heat have have more to offer than what the Suns would, especially if the Suns lose Aiton, because the Heat have a lot of players. I'm not sure what they have draft pick wise, but they have a lot of pretty good pieces over there.
They do. They have a lot of assets. Tyler Hero.
You have a Victor Oladipo that I think is starting to get closer to his old form.
Right. Duncan Robinson. Who's another guy? Max Strus. You could send him in that package. Yeah, you have quite a few players, but you're going to give up most of your bench.
Yeah.
If you're the Heat,
you're going to be top heavy.
Most of your bench. Yeah, your bench won't be as top heavy because you're giving up, all of those guys to get one guy, a superstar, and you don't know how long he's going to be a part of your team. You don't know if he's going to once again request a trade or when his contract is up, sign elsewhere and play someplace else. Because again, that's how Kevin Durant is. That's who he is.
No, that's right. You never know.
I mean, in the short term, though, maybe Durant's accusation will bring a team closer to their end goal of a championship. I mean, there's no question about that. But we are kidding ourselves if we truly believe he's going to stick around when the times get tough.
No, I agree because he hasn't proved anywhere that he's been that he would. Hell, he
Right.
left Golden State basically because him and Draymond couldn't get along. I think was the main reason. I think it was that, and because he thought the fans would be a little bit more receptive, and he would feel like the number one star there. But that's Steph Curry's town. I mean, there's ain't nothing you're going to do about that. But I mean, he walked away from possibly 2 or 3 more rings by leaving Golden State at the time he did.
Yeah, and I feel that way about OKC too. I think if he would have stayed there with, Russell Westbrook and James Harden, if they would have kept those 3 together, they would have won an NBA championship.
Yeah, that's where OKC messed up by
Right.
not keeping Harden. But you kept them 3 together, they could have won a championship. They made a finals. Had Golden State down 3-1 to be back at another finals, and if I remember right, that was without Harden, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just think if you would have still had Harden, who when he left OKC, he hadn't gotten to his prime of his career yet.
Right.
If you'd had them 3 guys at their prime, man, I mean,
so
they might have been a dynasty instead of Golden State if them 3 guys would have stayed together.
Possibly, yes. But
or at least them 2 teams would have been battling every year to see who was going to get there.
Right. And again, Kevin Durant joined a team, that beat him in the prior season, in the postseason. So
Do you think there's any way he ends back up in Golden State?
I don't see it. I don't think he ends up back in Golden State. I think he ends up somewhere where he really doesn't want to be, and he kind of has to ride it out until his contract comes to an end. I don't know. I think there's going to be there might be a few mystery teams out there too.
Well, what happens if let's say that the Nets are asking for too much, nobody bites, and they don't trade him. Is he going to sit out?
I can see him very well sitting out. I don't think he would play. If he's disgruntled and he's unhappy, I don't think he's going to play. I think he's going to sit out to send a message. That's his way of sending a message to the Brooklyn Nets.
And see,
for not, granting him his wish.
And that's where the Nets lose some of their leverage with the teams that they're trying to trade with, because teams know that.
Right. And again, in today's NBA, a lot of these players assume power. They can force their way out of a city and play somewhere where they want to play.
We've seen James Harden do it twice.
Yes, exactly. We've seen James Harden do it twice. He said he wanted to play in Philly. He ended up in Philly. He said he wanted to play in Houston. He ended up in Houston.
And he signed an extension. Well, he still hasn't signed it yet.
I hate that about today's NBA.
He opted out of his option and said he's going to sign more of a team-friendly deal, but he hasn't signed it yet. So people were speculating whether maybe he changed his mind or something. I was like, look, you never know what's going on in free agency.
You don't until it happens, and then everyone is like shocked as hell to learn about, a major shakeup in the NBA.
What do you think about Bradley Beal signing the max deal with the Wizards?
I'm not surprised about that either.
It's too much money to turn down. I hear people say, "Oh, you don't want to go in."
It's too much money to turn down.
Too much money to walk away from.
And this is a guy who has shown loyalty to a Washington team that has failed miserably to build around him. And it's going to be like that for the remaining years that he's there.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that. I don't think people realize that if he would have left there, no other team could have paid him what Washington could have paid him the way the system was set up. So I don't think people, like a lot of fans, realize that. They just say, "Oh, they could have got that money somewhere else." Well, they could have got paid somewhere else, but not technically as much as staying
Right.
where he was staying.
I mean, it's not like
And
he's
like you
Russell
said, he's been a
Westbrook.
loyal guy.
Right. It's not like he's Russell Westbrook and he's holding the team hostage.
Yeah.
This is a totally different scenario. But hey, he got a pile of money. He agreed to stay there, and that's where he's gonna be spending the rest of his career. I think 2 years ago he could have got a max offer somewhere else though. He really could have gotten a max offer somewhere else, and he could have played for a contending team
Yeah.
and had a chance to win.
And now you think that affects the way when people look back at the player's legacy? Does that affect the way that people look back on it and say, "Well, this guy he stayed there, took this max deal, so he didn't want to win as much as this other guy who took less money to stay with the team to try to get a ring."
You can't please everyone. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. We complain when these players take the max deal. Then we complain when they request a trade to form a super team. So which is it?
Yep.
I mean, which is it? You get angry
And
when
don't
the
get me
player
wrong.
stays in the city, and then when a player sacrifices, the money that's on the table, you throw a fit as well. So I mean, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If Bradley Beal would have joined the super team, he would have been under just as much scrutiny as the other guys, or he would have been, called out publicly for, joining forces with two other superstars. Then everyone's demonizing him, right?
Yep.
Now they're demonizing him because he decides to, stay put, take the money that was given to him to stay in Washington. So it really, really doesn't matter.
No, because look how everybody buried Kevin Durant when he went to the Warriors.
Right.
I mean, but one thing I will say, is I grew up in the '90s, so don't get me wrong. I wish it was back like there where a player was with a franchise or with a team basically their whole career.
Right.
Because to me as a fan, it even made you more invested because you usually if you were like me, I was a Pacer fan, so naturally I'm a big Reggie Miller fan, and so I don't know, it was just something about having that player there the whole time. But it's just changed. Times have changed, so you can't live in the past, and you still get people. Oh, it sucks because players have more control nowadays. That's how it is, and it's not going to change. So you might as well get used to it.
Right. It's rare nowadays that a player stays his entire career on one team. You don't see that
Because you think about it now,
too
back
often.
in the '90s, you could name most of the players on probably about every team.
Right.
Nowadays, it's harder to because players change so often.
Right. I can name Patrick Ewing, John Starks, John Stockton. Karl Malone left towards the end of his career, but he still pretty much played his entire career in Utah. Reggie Miller, your guy Reggie Miller, spent his whole career in Indiana. Kobe Bryant spent his whole career with the Lakers. Charles Barkley kind of bounced around, but he didn't go from team to team.
No.
He started his career in Philly. Then
he played all his prime years in Philly.
Right. And then he ended up with the Phoenix Suns, where I thought he had his best years as well.
Yeah. Well, they were with the Suns as well. You're right.
The MVP. The year he won the MVP, he was phenomenal that year, 1993. Yep. And then, of course, he went to the Rockets. Jordan did it all with the Bulls, even though he took a hiatus from basketball, retired for 2 years, came back, spent his whole career in one place. So, I mean, the 90s, it was a different ball game back then. Even Gary Payton, he pretty much stayed his whole entire career in Seattle till, he joined the Lakers late in his career and in the Miami Heat, of course, where he won a championship. People forget, but he won a championship in Miami with Shaq. and Dwayne
Yep.
Wade.
Yeah, he did. There toward the end of his career.
Yep.
Man, when you had the Supersonics with Peyton and Kemp, oh, and man, that team, I used to love watching that team play.
I used to love watching that team play too. That was some good basketball. And another team I used to enjoy watching a lot was the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, Utah Jazz was fun to watch back in the 90s.
Yeah, because John Stockton was a great facilitator. He was a true floor general, and he made everyone around him better. That's just how much of an impact he had on that team. Definitely one of the best point guards to ever do it. And him and Karl Malone, uh, that was one of the greatest duels in NBA history. You
Yep.
can't deny that. John Stockton would make an incredible pass, and the mailman would deliver. It
There
was
ain't many duos you could put over.
right. It's not too many duels you can put over. But yeah, I miss 90s basketball. 90s basketball, the hardwood classic days, that was simply amazing. It was some fun basketball. And then you go back to 94 and 95. Those were some of the greatest years too, for the Houston Rockets, winning back to back in those years. That was a great moment for my dad because he was a Houston Rockets fan. And, Clutch City was a big thing here in our house those 2 years. But it's funny because when they won the first year, I think we were in Texas at the time. In June, we were visiting family, and we were actually in Houston. Uh, it was exciting, and my dad was a big Houston Rockets fan because he's from Houston. He wasn't a Lakers fan, even though it's crazy though because my dad loved the Showtime Lakers. He loved Magic. He loved Wordy. He loved Michael Cooper. He loved Byron Scott. The list goes on. Magic Johnson. He loved those guys because he liked the way they played basketball. But he was a diehard Houston Rockets fan. He loved his Rockets, and it was just a blessing for him to be able to see that Rocket team win back to back years, 94 and 95. Because in 96 he was gravely ill, so it was great for him to be able to experience that before his death.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he was able to see the 94 and 95 Houston Rockets.
How did you become a Lakers fan if your dad was a diehard Houston fan?
Well, I was born and raised in Southern California. So
Okay.
my dad,
I see. Yeah, that makes
my grandfather,
sense.
my grandfather and my dad, they were from Houston, Texas. So our family roots it originates in Houston, Texas. But my grandfather decided that he would move to California for a better opportunity because at the time, it was booming. Things were
Yeah.
booming here in Southern California, and it was a great place if you was into entrepreneurship. This was a great place to get started. So him and my father, my dad being very young at the time, they hoboed from Texas to Southern California to expand. And my grandfather became a house flipper. This is a true story. He became a house flipper throughout Southern California. So my grandfather was a self-made millionaire. It's a true story. My grandfather was a self-made millionaire. My dad, when my grandfather passed away, my dad inherited most of the money, but my dad already had his own money because my dad was an automotive engineer. And in '85, I was born here in Los Angeles, so I was always a fan of the Lakers, the Dodgers, all the LA
Yeah.
teams because this is my home. And my dad couldn't help but to like those teams too because he lived here in Southern California. But he would never put those teams above his Houston Rockets, his Houston Astros, his Dallas Cowboys. Those were his teams. Until his death, those were his teams. He was a Cowboys fan, so he experienced a lot of glory days in the '90s because the Dallas Cowboys were
Oh
winning
yeah.
Super Bowls, and then you had the Houston Rockets winning back-to-back championships. So that's a little bit of the story about us.
Okay, yeah. See, the first NBA game I ever went to was the Indiana Pacers against the Seattle Supersonics. and got to see Peyton, Kemp, and all them. But reason I asked that because like I grew up watching the pace, like every Pacer game. Me and Dad watched it together. Same way with Colts and all that. But my son, he's the opposite. Like I'm a diehard Indiana fan about it and anything. He's an Arizona Cardinals fan.
Oh, yeah. And see, that's how I was.
He's 20. He's 22 years old now, but he's been an Arizona Cardinals fan forever because his favorite NFL player has always been Larry Fitzgerald. He loves Larry Fitzgerald, so he's been a Cardinals fan. I remember though he's about 9-10 years old. Cardinals in Pittsburgh were the Super Bowl, and a few years before that, when the Colts made the Super Bowl, had a big Super Bowl party at the house and everything. Well, he said, "Hey, Dad, do I get to have a Super Bowl party like you did when your team was in the Super Bowl?" So he invited over like 8 or 9 of his friends, and we made a bunch of food, and he had his own little Super Bowl party. Watch Arizona Cardinals.
It's always sometimes for a fan to become a fan, it has to do with that one player that they really, really liked growing up, during their childhood, and they just stick with that team. And you see that a lot. I know a lot of sports fans like that as well.
Yeah, it's just funny because he's always been opposite. Like if I root for the Reds in baseball, he roots for the St. Louis Cardinals in baseball. It's like, dude, that's one of our biggest rivals.
Yeah, that is because they're in the same division, the Central.
He roots for the Cardinals. My girlfriend's a real big Cubs fan.
Oh man, the house is dividing when those teams meet. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, especially this week because the Cubs have been whooping up on the Reds.
Oh yeah. Well, and I hate to break it to you, but everyone's beating up on the Reds. It seems.
Oh yeah,
and it's really agonizing in a way because when you look at the team, you have Joey Votto, who's has just had an amazing career.
Yeah, he's an aging star.
Right. And he has, some historic records and everything. And then you have this young and up and coming pitcher by the name of Hunter Green.
Yep.
Who's going to be special in this league. But yet you're losing all these games. And it's just.
Speaking of Hunter Green.
That's nice. I like that one.
That's from the minor league team, the Dragons, for minor league.
That's cool. That's cool. They gave away a bobblehead last night at Dodger Stadium. It was Trey Turner, actually, and it was one I really wanted.
Well, my dad's friend was at a Dayton Dragons game. I think they're A-ball. And Hunter and he was in the gift shop, and he saw them, and he called me and asked me if I want. Said, "Hey, I'll grab one for you. You can just give me the money when I get back in town." I was like, "Yeah, grab me one."
That's cool.
But yeah, I'm a big Hunter Green fan. But we got another rookie pitcher that's been pitching real well, Ashcraft.
Ashcraft? I heard him. I heard about him, but I don't know much. But I've heard about him.
He'd been on fire, but yesterday he had his first game where he had some struggles. But he's been pretty consistent most of the season, so that's good for a rookie.
He got rocked by the lineup yesterday, or what?
Yeah.
He's going to have those moments, though, because you know what? All rookies have growing pains.
Well, even Hunter Green, he's gave up over 20 home runs already this season.
Yeah, and that's growing pains. You can expect that from your young stars, But there's something there. The talent is there.
They need to get rid of the coach.
Stars in the making.
They need to get rid of the manager.
Yeah, they need to get rid of David Bell. David Bell's been, there long enough.
And they need to get rid of the GM.
It's time to make changes.
Need to get rid of the manager, GM, because you know who basically runs the team? David Bell's dad.
That's a conflict of interest.
He's a like a special advisor or whatever to the general manager.
So then, if you want to really clean house, you got to
get rid of.
You got to get
rid of all three of them, in my opinion.
Because you best believe the new general manager that comes in, he's bringing in his own guy.
Yeah, but he has some kind of role that he helps that general manager. Because when I found that out, it made me so mad. I'm like, well, no wonder we suck.
And no wonder he still has the job as the manager and hasn't been fired yet.
Because this year, yeah, we don't have as much talent on the team, but the last couple of years, we've had teams that should have been in the playoffs. If you looked
Exactly.
on paper, we had teams that could have been in the
You guys
playoffs.
blew up the roster.
And
Because you guys had who you guys had? You guys had Nick Castellanos.
had Castellanos, Jesse Winker.
You guys had Jesse Winker. You guys had
Suarez.
Yep. At third base.
We had Moustakas.
Yep. And you guys had
Joey Votto
too. You guys have pretty decent arms too. Yeah, you guys should have been in playoffs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we had Sonny Gray.
Yep.
Wade Miley.
Right.
Trevor Bauer.
Yep.
I mean, we should have been in playoffs.
That's the year you guys should have went to the playoffs during the pandemic shortened season. That's the year, because that's the year that Trevor Bauer had a historic season. That's the year that he won the Cy Young Award in that short season.
Yes.
In that miniature season. So that, yeah, right there, that's
we got put out. We got put out in the play-in game by the Braves, and we scored
you guys got the play-in game that year?
No, it came down to no. We missed getting the play-in game by like a game, and that game, game to get there, we got almost got no hitted.
Yeah, that was the year you guys should have cashed in.
Yep. And even last year, we still had we lost Trevor Bauer, but other than that, we still had a solid pitching staff, had a bunch of bats in the order. And when we had Rookie of the Year, Jonathan India, a big surprise, and we still can't do nothing.
So, you
got to make some changes up top.
And what that means is that David Bell can't win with talent or even without talent.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And I didn't like the move when they hired Bell. If you were to me when you hired Bell, you should have just kept the manager you had. If you were going to do that, if you were going to fire the guy you had, you should have brought somebody in from the outside, cleaned the house, bring a whole new regime in.
Well, do they like yes man or what? What is it?
Yeah. Basically, that's what Bill is. He's basically a puppet to analytics.
Yeah, he is a puppet to analytics. And most of these managers are, sadly to say, puppets.
Oh, you know that because you're a Dodgers fan.
Yeah, I know that. Dave Roberts is a puppet. Dave Roberts is a puppet, and there's nights that he's questionable because of how he uses his bullpen.
A lot of times,
and who he turns to in the sixth inning and so forth. It's ridiculous. It's flat out ridiculous.
That's what fans don't understand. A lot of times these teams, that happens.
Yep.
And I don't know. It's frustrating.
Yeah,
it's frustrating because the Reds, it's like every time they start to get good, then we go right back into a rebuild.
Yep. Analytics has destroyed our precious game.
And that's what people don't understand too. The managers, a lot of times, that they don't even want to do what they have to go up. The decision that they make, but their hands are tied because if they don't do what the analytic guy told them to, then they're going to be in trouble and might lose their job.
Right.
So I guarantee you, there's times the managers sitting in that dugout like, this is not what we need to do. We need to keep but your hands are tied. I mean, you have to decide what battles to fight and what battles not to fight.
You're basically letting the computer dictate on who you use.
And there's too much gray area in baseball to just go by numbers.
Right. But Dave Roberts, there's nights that he just cannot manage the bullpen. And I mean, we see that all the time. I've been a Dodger fan and been able to see all the games because I live here. You see it on a nightly basis, and it gets very annoying. It gets very frustrating because you're sitting there and you're left wondering, okay, who's he gonna go with, or why is he going with this guy, And I mean, we see that quite too often, particularly with the Dodgers.
Yeah, and you see managers getting in a hurry to get to their bullpen.
Yeah.
If it's the third, you're getting ready to face the guy for the third time. Time to go to the bullpen. No matter what inning it is, and it's like, no, but they do it all the time. You have to have a feel for your pitcher. Just like if it's in the 7th inning and your pitcher's only thrown 75, 80 pitches, I don't care if it's the 3rd time facing that team or not. Leave them in there. But they won't. They'll pull and bring in a cold arm out of the bullpen where you have no idea what's going to happen.
As always.
With the Reds, I usually know what's going to happen. If we don't have at least a 5-run lead or our bullpen takes over, we lose.
That's a loss, yeah.
We have a team ERA of like 5.47. And our starting pitching has been good since about May on. Our bullpen is terrible.
Yep. And I don't understand because David Bell, again, he goes to the same pitchers that screw it up all the time.
Yeah, and in the same order. It's like mix it up a little bit or something.
Right. Yeah, David Bell.
Especially when you get rid of the closer. We had Iglesias who was a pretty good closer. You get rid of him and don't replace him.
And now he sucks in Anaheim, which is bizarre.
Yeah, you think it'd be done better in Anaheim with because that's even a bigger field.
Right.
Because Great American Ballpark is a hitter's ballpark.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie though, that was a pretty toss on when the Angels and the Mariners got into that brawl. That was a pretty toss. You saw him toss the sunflower seeds onto the field.
Yeah, dude, that was one. Man, I was cracking up when I watched it. I didn't see it live, but I saw the replay of the highlights of it. And I was cracking up. I'm like, 19 minutes? This went on for 19 minutes? But
yeah.
I've been lucky enough to be live at a pro baseball game and a fight breakout. We went to it was Reds and Cubs in Cincinnati about 3-4 years ago. I got my girlfriend tickets for her birthday because she's, like I said, a big Cubs fan. Me, her, and the boys went. And Amir Garrett threw one inside. I forget who it was off the Cubs, started talking, and here goes Garrett right out. Bitch is clear. It probably took 10, 15 minutes before we restarted.
Oh, I remember him.
But it was some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. And the kids loved it. You know, I mean, kids thought it was awesome.
I remember when
that's the only time I've got to see one live.
That's crazy. But I remember when Amir Garrett tried to fight everyone from in the Pittsburgh Pirates dugout. Remember that one? He tried to take on everybody. He was trying to take on everybody in the dugout.
I'm like you, since where I live at, I get every Cincinnati Reds game. So I'm like you are with the Dodgers. I watched almost every game.
Okay,
even though we're not no good. Like yesterday, I'm not gonna lie. Once they were down like 10-5 or 11-5, I was like, oh, there's other things I can be watching on TV. I'll go back over here and check it, see what's going on in free agency and stuff. I watch most of it.
Brawls are crazy, but this Angels and Mariners brawl, this was actually a brawl because punches were thrown. You know, stuff was flying from out of the dugout. I mean, bodies were on the floor. This was an actual brawl.
Oh yeah,
this was a true meaning of brawl. It was so
Winker
crazy. He flipped off the fans. It was so crazy that you even had some of the coaches brawling. You know, that's how intense it was.
What was it? 12 players. The both managers all ended up getting suspended or fines and stuff.
Yep.
And Jess Winker goes into the dugout, then comes back out of the dugout and tries to go after everybody again.
Yep. Yeah,
that was crazy. I think the only crazier one I saw was the Malice at the Palace.
Yeah,
that was that was crazy.
Nothing comes close to that. That's one of the moments
I remember where I was at, what I was doing, and everything. That's one of those moments. That Malice at the Palace. I remember it like.
I actually missed that game. I think that was my senior year of high school. Actually, was it? No, I had finished my senior year of high school. That was 2004 November, right? November 2004, I believe.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I had finished high school that June. I think I was at my friend's house that night because I saw the highlights when I came home on Sports Center, and I could not believe it. My jaw dropped to the ground. Like,
Oh, we was at my
literally,
dad's house.
figuratively.
We was at my dad's house for Thanksgiving. We just left my dad's house. I get home, I turn on the game, and I'm sitting there watching it. And then boom, it happens. I go to grab the phone to call my dad to see if he was watching. The phone started ringing. He's like, "Are you seeing this?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is unreal."
That was ugly. That was
The Pacers had a team that year.
Yep. Who they
And
had?
then after
Ron
that, they
Artest,
blew it up.
Jermaine O'Neal, Jermaine O'Neal, Jamal Tinsley, Reggie Miller was still there. Austin Kosher. Yeah, they had a nice squad.
I think that would have been Reggie might have had a chance to finally get a championship that year.
Yes,
they were going to contend for one. I really believe that.
But the closest he got to an NBA championship was when they played the Lakers in the 2000 NBA Finals. That one went 6 games. That was a great series, by the way.
That was Rick Smits and the Davis boys and Reggie.
And when Kobe got Jalen Rose.
Mark Jackson.
Yep. Mark Jackson. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, them 90s Pacers teams, man.
Shaq owned Wick Smith.
The Pacers and Knicks rivalry was the best.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah. Oh, no, I was saying Shaq, he owned Rick Smith, though.
Oh, man, he threw Rick Smith around like a rag doll that series.
Yep. Yeah, he did. He really did.
Smith was good before he started having his feet trouble. Once he started having trouble with his feet.
Yeah.
It was before that he could hoop.
Yeah. He wasn't as explosive after that. And he wasn't as effective, at the rim after that injury. But yeah, you're right. The Knicks and the Pacers rivalry, man, that was exciting. And then Spike Lee would get into it with Reggie Miller.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the time Reggie Miller, or was it Spike Lee? Spike Lee was sitting courtside, and he took his gum out of his mouth and chucked it at Reggie Miller, and I think it stuck onto the back of his jersey.
Oh, yeah, Reggie. That one night, Reggie was giving them the choke sign and came back in the fourth quarter from like 20 down.
Yep.
Well, for Christmas last year, my son bought me a T-shirt, and it's like outline of Reggie Miller doing that choke sign.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. That was priceless. I mean, that was some great basketball back then.
Yeah.
The refs let them play. They didn't blow the whistle for ticky-tack fouls. Like
totally different brand of basketball, but it was fun to watch.
Yes, the physicality is not the same,
And don't get me wrong, it's fun to watch now. But I think if we could get like a little bit of a mixture, I think it would be perfect. If the refs will just don't call the ticky-tack stuff all the time. I think it would be better. I'm not saying don't let them kill each other like they did back in the 90s. They throw punches and shit. Don't let them do all that, but just don't take over the game with the whistle.
The difference with today's NBA is the talent level. I think the talent in today's NBA is unparalleled. It's you see the rise of more superstars in this modern era now. And these superstars play a lot different from the stars in the 90s, So I think that's the difference. I think it's more exciting now because you have all these highlight reels. You have all these incredible plays from Ja Morant, every night you see something breathtaking from a lot of these players. So I think that's the difference in today's game. And then we got the internet now. You got YouTube. Yep. You can go and catch the highlights. You can go and watch videos of these players doing something spectacular on the court. So I think that's where you draw the difference in today's NBA.
Yeah, back when we was growing up in the 90s, it was hard to find when you were growing up in the 90s. It was hard to find out a lot of stuff about the stars. Like, you knew who Michael Jordan was, but you didn't know you knew Michael Jordan, the basketball player. You didn't know all the other off-court stuff like we do now about the players,
right?
Because of the internet.
Because of the internet and because of all these websites that's nosy and want to be chismosos and chismosas and want to be in everybody's business, and you got all these gossip websites now. You got all these parody websites now, like The Onion,
Yep.
Like these
Are
other
you
websites where they just make up news just so they can get clicks and hits, and a lot of it is just clickbait.
what do you think about the Celtics trading for Brogdon?
Say that again. I didn't quite hear you.
What do you think about the Celtics trading for Malcolm Brogdon?
Hey, Malcolm Ball. I always pronounce his name wrong. He could ball. He's a true baller. You know,
You just have to
wherever,
worry about injuries. Like last year, he only
right,
played like
injury,
33 games because of his back and I think
right.
a
And
knee.
see, that's the thing. He's an injury-prone player, but I think you can plug him into that offense.
Oh, I
And
think he fits well in Boston.
right, he fits well in Boston, and he'll give you some points. He defends really well.
And he don't turn the ball over a lot.
Right. He doesn't turn over the ball a lot. He takes care of the basketball, and he's also a likable player on and off the court. So I think he really, really fits
They say he's
what
a great
Boston.
leader. I
Yeah,
know when he's been in Indiana, a lot of the teammates say he's the leader. He's a great leader. So I think that'll help Boston as
right. And
well.
that's what you want in that locker room because we've heard that Boston doesn't really have a true leader, and now they will have that with Malcolm. So I think it's a good trade. Um, I
I
think
think it was a good move for the Pacers as well. So
I think it's a steal, really, if he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, it's a steal
yeah.
for Boston.
Oh yeah, it is. But I'm just saying, I like the player. I like what the Pacers got for him because
Mhm.
they got the players, but they could use them players to go do something else as well. And you got rid of a big contract.
Right.
I mean, they're already in rebuild mode, so you might as well went ahead and done it. But they got Halliburton, and I think they're going to try to build around him and some of them other guys. I don't know what they're going to do with T.J. Warren. They haven't. He's still a free agent, so I didn't know if they were going to try to bring him back. But he hasn't played for over a year.
Yeah,
He
I
went
was
off
about
in the
to say
bubble and hasn't played hardly since.
yeah, I was about to say he's fallen off since the injury. Because TJ Warren was,
Well, he didn't
on
play
his
all last
this
season.
was a dude that was getting in the head of Jimmy Butler, and him and Jimmy Butler were going at it and stuff. And this guy, man, he put up some numbers.
Yeah, and he hasn't played for like a season and a half.
Yeah. And I know for sure that Indiana missed his presence
Oh yeah, a lot.
a
Because
lot.
if he would have
Right.
been healthy, I thought we were going to have a good a team to compete in the East because that's when we had all Depot playing well.
Could have probably made the play in.
Yeah, but they just injuries and different things always have happened. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so far in free agency, which team do you think has improved the most, or which team do you like their moves, like what they've done the most? I think Atlanta's done well.
Yeah, it for me it's tough, but I'm with you. I think Atlanta's really done well because a lot of people don't know Murray and how well he really plays. I mean, this is a guy who is ball dominant, but he had to be with the Spurs, because there was really no other superstars
Yeah, he
around
didn't
him.
have he wasn't playing with another star.
Right, he wasn't playing with another star, so he had to be that ball hog. He had to be that guy that jacks up a lot of shots. Now playing alongside a guard like Trey Young, that takes some of the pressure off of him. That alleviates some of the pressure, and now he could work as a tandem, with uh with Trey Young, and now you have this prolific backcourt in the East with those two. So I think Atlanta has done well. I think this is a trade that can kind of put them over the hump in the East, but I don't know how much more over the hump. Maybe they can get a little bit over the hump, but not the next hump because you
Yeah,
still have those other great teams in the Eastern Conference
I think
that
it might.
just seems to be too much of a hassle for them and stronger and unstoppable. Really,
I think they're probably going to get. I think they might get this. Might get them to like maybe a five, maybe
I think so too. I
four,
think Atlanta's a five
four,
seed.
4 to 6 seed, somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
I've said that. I think Atlanta's a five seed because I gave my picks the other day who I think is going to still be in the top three of the East, and I said at number one Milwaukee, I still have Milwaukee number 1. I have Boston at number 2, and I have the Miami Heat at number 3.
Yeah. Then at 4,
Some
you could
people got the Bulls in their top 3.
I was at 4, you could throw in the Bulls.
You can throw in the Bulls at 4, yeah. Yep.
There was another team I had on the top of my head too that you could throw right around. Oh, the Sixers. Bulls and the Sixers, they could be right there at 4 and 5. And then you're gonna have your teams like Atlanta and right there in the mix as well. So this should be interesting. The West is gonna be real interesting, especially depending on where KD goes. How much do you think that the Golden State Warriors are gonna miss Gary Payton and Otto Porter Jr.? They lost both them today, but they did re-sign Looney, which was big.
Right.
But so I think they'll be able to get pieces to replace them guys. But I really thought they would keep Gary Payton.
Well, they're going to really miss Gary Payton's defensive presence because this was a guy who, has the intangibles to be an elite defender.
Well, he's so good. He's such a good defender that when he got hurt in the playoffs, a lot of people thought the Warriors were done.
Right. And, he made an impact on that end of the floor because of his ability to defend really well. So they're going to miss his services a lot. I think they're going to miss Gary Payton Jr. And you really can't replace a guy like that. I mean, you could retool, but the Warriors really didn't lose much. I think they could still run it back with the team that they do have, But again, we got
Moses
and where Kevin Durant goes now.
Yeah, Moses and Kuminga are going to be good.
Right. But we got to see where Kevin Durant ends up now. Because what if he ends up with a Western Conference team? Then what? That's going to shake up the Western Conference.
I know a lot of people was rumors about Memphis. And I think Memphis could put it together. They could put together a package to get them
without giving up Ja Morant.
No, I think if you put Bane and Brooks in a package with some picks,
but you giving up
and maybe a couple of other players, you could get Durant. You'd have Durant and Morant to build around.
Durant doesn't really defend well, and you giving up one of your best defenders in that package, and that's Dylan Brooks. Because
if you could keep Brooks too, if you could just get rid of Bane and some picks and stuff.
Bane's a nice shooter. Bane can definitely be packaged in a deal.
Yeah, you don't want to lose Brooks. I agree with you.
You don't want to lose Brooks because
you have to give up that much to get KD. It's not worth it.
Right. Yeah, Brooks though he sets the tone on defense.
Yep,
he really does.
Yeah, I think it's going to be and the Warriors signed Vincenzo.
Oh, nice.
Golden State did. They picked him up today, so
nice.
That's a good pickup after you lose those two guys.
I still think Golden State could run it back because of their backcourt though. Look at what all they have. They still have Curry. They still have Clay. They still have Draymond Green.
Going to get Wiseman.
They're going to get Wiseman back. They re-signed Looney. So they're still in good shape. Yeah, they still got Wiggins. They're still in good shape. They're basically bringing back all their starters.
And you got two rookies that played well last year.
Right.
With some in the playoffs that should be improved this year. So yeah, I think they have a chance to be better than they were last year.
Especially if Wiseman comes back a lot stronger.
Yep. No, I agree. Before we get out of here, what do you think about? Let's talk about this real quick, because you live in that area, so I want to get your opinion on this. USC and UCLA moving to the Big Ten.
Oh man!
For one, the Big Ten needs to change their name because you got 16 teams in it now.
The Big 16. The Big 16.
I said earlier what they need to do is just pick up 4 more teams and call it the Big 20.
Might as well. It's looking that way, right? It's looking like it's coming down to 2 conferences.
Because rumor is Notre Dame might be joining the Big Ten as well.
They should. You know why I say that? Because why are they in the independent conference? That
just
never
one
makes
sport.
sense.
And it's only in one sport. They're in the ACC and every other sport.
The other 2, so that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
That didn't make sense to me. But to answer your question, I'm not on board with this only because I'm so used to seeing USC and UCLA in the Pac-12. And now by them joining by USC and UCLA joining the Pac-10, which should be the Pac-16, Pac-20, whatever you want to call it now, it not only makes it more competitive, for both of those schools, but now it makes travel different.
Yeah, well, that's what was the first thing I said was logistics is how
Right.
is the
Logistics.
travel
Right.
from one side of the country to the other, and then the other thing I think is going to be real interesting. And I'm excited. This is the one part I do like about this. I'm kind of excited about is to see how them teams from the West adapt to the Big Ten style of basketball, where it's just a physical grind game. It's a defensive game where they're more high scoring. So it's going to be interesting to see how both, like when they play, say, Ohio State, not really Ohio State, but play like Indiana, who ain't a top Big Ten team, but are tough defensively, going to grind on you. But Big Ten teams are going to have to adapt to being able to score 80, 90 points a game like USC and UCLA can. So it's going to be interesting to see how that changes the Big Ten conference. Will it go to more of an offensive conference, or is it going to stay more of a defensive kind of brand of basketball? I mean, things could change because you got from the whole different side of the country.
Right. And now it kind of breaks tradition a bit when the Rose Bowl game is played on New Year's Day, because you had this Big Ten Pac-12 traditional matchup. Yeah. And you're not going to most likely get that anymore. But what I think it's coming down to, a two-team conference where it's going to be the SEC and the Big Ten. That's what it's looking like. And a lot of this has to do with money too. So
that's what it's always about.
Yeah, right. So in the next 5 years, you might just see the Big Ten and the SEC.
I wouldn't be mad because if you're not going, and this reason I wouldn't be mad if you're not going to force every team to be in a conference, like you let Big Ten or not Big Ten, but Notre Dame be independent.
Yeah,
then you might as well just not have conferences.
Right.
Seed your teams for a playoff and go from there.
Right.
I mean, it needs to be uniform for everybody because to me it wasn't fair to the teams that had to play an extra game, play that conference championship game, and you lose. And Notre Dame jumps in front of you because they didn't play that weekend.
Right.
Well, that's not fair. So I think everybody should have to play a conference championship game or nobody play a conference championship game.
Right.
Don't have a conference tournament. Don't have a conference tournament. Just go by your league champion if you're not going to have everybody in a conference tournament.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you on that one. But yeah, for me, it was the logistics and, just the travel and, just the fact that it won't be easy for some of us to adapt to change.
And another thing I think is going to be a big issue.
I'm used to them being in the Pac-12.
Another thing I think is going to be a big issue is say Indiana goes to UCLA to play fans. Because like when in the Big Ten, it's closer proximity, so you get a lot of fans that will travel with you. You're not going to get the near amount of fans travel with you to LA.
West Coast, right? Right. Unless it was a Rose Bowl game or something.
Yeah, and same thing for the West Coast teams. They're not going to get a big following them to when they play their road games in the Big Ten.
Right.
So yeah. I think that could hurt athletic departments because the crowds aren't going to be as big. Especially until things get going, especially at first.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's true. That's a great point.
Because that's one thing you have in college. You have these big fan bases that they'll travel with their team.
Yeah, and you see it a lot with the East Coast teams, especially the Southern teams, because that's all they really have. That's all some of these cities really have is college football. They don't have a major professional sport team to follow. So. That's
like the city I live in Muncie, Indiana. Ball State University is right here in our city,
right?
And they're a MAC team, so they're not even like a real big team, but they're in the MAC conference. But that's another team comes to play them from Bowling Green from Ohio. Oh, hey, Bowling Green side, the other side of the field will be packed with fans from Bowling Green because it's only what 3 4 hour drive or whatever.
Right.
And you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose some. You're gonna lose some people. Like, man, I can't drive all the way across the country, or I can't afford plane tickets.
Right.
So I think that'll be an interesting thing. I think going down to 2 conferences, I wouldn't be against it really.
It'll be something different. It would take a while. It would take a while to get used to.
I think you could even out team schedules where that everybody's playing a closer strength of schedule instead of one team playing an easy schedule and another team playing a harder schedule, and you have to try to figure out who's played the tougher. Just you can even the schedule out more if you only have 2 conferences.
Right. It'll make competition stiffer.
Yep.
Yeah. That's true.
Well, all right, man. Do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, man. I want to thank you for having me back on. This was awesome. Once again on a Friday night. I couldn't ask for anything better than to talk about sports with you. So we gotta definitely do this again, Chris. This is a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun coming on your show. You do a great job. You have a terrific following. You have a great fan base. Keep up the good work, my friend. It was awesome once again.
I definitely want to get you on here one night when my dad's on here too, because I think that would be fun with all 3 of us.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
He's on his way he's in Chicago now. He left this morning to go see my sister. My sister and her husband have 2 kids. They live in Chicago. So him and my mom left this morning. They're went down there for the 4th of July weekend.
Okay, yeah, it's probably gonna be crazy down there too. Because
I'm going camping.
Okay, I hear you.
We're going to not really camping. We're going to my buddy's house, but we're camping out. He owns like a farm, and they're having a big get together out there. So we're going to set up a tent and just stay there. That way we can, if we want to have a beer or drink, we don't have to worry about getting back home, which is 30 minutes away. So we're taking a tent and going to camp out there. That I guess last year there was like 100 people there, so it should be a fun time.
That should be fun. That actually sounds like something different. That sounds fun, actually.
So yeah, so after this show, I won't be doing hardly nothing with the show till Tuesday, because if I do, I'll get in trouble.
No, take your time off, man. Sometimes we need time off. We deserve time off.
But yeah, man, you're welcome to come on here anytime, because especially like my dad, he can't do Wednesday nights because he works.
Okay.
So like Wednesday nights, I'm usually looking for somebody. It's a lot of fun. I'm not gonna do it by myself, but I don't know. I like doing it better when you have somebody else to talk to and get opinions from than just sitting there by yourself.
That's how I am with my show too. I didn't do my show this Thursday. I was kind of busy on Thursday where I couldn't do it. But next Thursday I will have Key Williams on speaking with the truth. So that's gonna be fun. You know how Key is. She keeps it real, and it's always lively when you have her on the show. So
yeah. I was listening to Freddie and all them guys on ASAP right before we got on. Man, they were all going on about KD and what's going to happen. Somebody said Steph Curry was overrated, and I was like, wait a minute now. I put in the comment section. I said, how is Steph Curry overrated? But he's the only unanimous MVP.
Right, Freddie, man, Freddie is funny. He's too much, man.
Yeah, it wasn't Freddie that said it. It wasn't Freddie that said Steph was overrated, but I forget who it was. Marcus.
I'm trying to think. Marcus.
Oh no, they had like 8 people on there, man. It was like 8 of them on there at one time.
Marcus. I'm trying to think who that is. I might know him if I see him.
Yeah, there was like 8 of them on there. Ray was on there. Rob Scott.
Ray Cruz or Ray
Ray Bond.
Bond, okay. Yep. Yeah, Ray's cool too.
Yeah, I've been on his show a couple times.
Yeah, Ray does a good job with Real Talk. I like Ray. Ray is cool.
Yep.
Ray does a good job.
And when him and Freddie get going, it's funny.
Oh yeah, it's funny. It's always the opposite. Yeah, those guys really
there's a lot of
go at it.
For everybody listening, there's a lot of good talent over there on the ASAP Sports Network. Go check them out. Hit that subscribe button for them on YouTube and Facebook, Twitch, all that. And the same with Gonzo'S Sports Room. Please hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. Our numbers have been this month have really been going up, so I appreciate everybody supporting us.
Yeah, we have fun over at ASAP. We really do. It's fun, and it's a great brotherhood and sisterhood, and everybody just have the same goals in mind. Really,
Yep. Oh yeah, I'm glad Freddie found me. I guess that's how he got a hold of me. But he sent me a message on Facebook. He must have probably seen some of my videos or something, and asked me about it. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great, and I'm glad I did because I made some new friends
I'm
by
glad you did
joining
it
it.
too. I'm glad you did it too.
Made some new friends. I mean, hell, like when I was sick, there was more people from ASAP messaging me than probably anybody else checking on me and make sure I was all right. So it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
we found a good group of guys.
yeah. We got a great group of guys, and it's like a family atmosphere. We are family. That's the way I look at it.
And
We're family.
Like Freddie's the boss. He called me. I think he called me 3 times when I had COVID to check on me.
Yeah. Oh, he always checks in on me. He checks in on my daughter. He checks in on
Yeah,
my fiance. He checks in on me. He's always it's like he's like a brother. Always
yeah,
calling, always seeing how I'm doing. And sometimes, Chris, our family are not our actual blood. Our family are
yep.
people that we connect with through podcasting or do other stuff in life,
Oh yeah,
And sometimes that's our family. Like I have a close friend. His name is Daniel. I'm giving him a shout out. Uh he's more than a friend. He's a brother to me
yep,
because when I got sick the last time, he drove all the way from Anaheim where he lives to bring me to the hospital. And that's a true friend.
yep,
And sometimes it takes for you to get into trouble or for you to get sick to see who's really there for you.
yep.
And he's always there for me when I need him. And everyone here at the ASAP Network's always here when I need them. So I
Oh
really
yeah.
appreciate that a lot.
Oh yeah, I've had fun. I've had fun over there on ASAP the last few months. I'm looking forward. We're gonna keep it growing, so it's gonna even get bigger, and more people are gonna find out about it.
Yeah, yeah. Over time, I mean, I know sometimes I'm impatient, but a lot of this stuff,
Just like
it just
Speakable Judgment's going to keep growing.
yeah, it just takes time. As bad as you want it now, like damn, I want the money now. Damn, I want to make this a full time job now, so I don't have to go to my day job every day.
I don't think
As much
people
as you
understand
do that,
how much of a grind it is.
yeah,
It's not just sitting here and talking. There's a lot of goes into
right, right.
getting ready to sit here and talk.
Right. And then it gets frustrating sometimes because you see your numbers are low on YouTube and you're like, what the hell am I doing wrong?
You'll
Why am
feel
I
like you've done your best show, and then you look at the views and like, man, I felt like my best show, but my
right,
numbers are low.
right. But like you said, it's a constant grind. You just gotta keep working, gotta keep building connections and you gotta keep it up. You gotta stay consistent so
Yep.
your numbers can improve gradually and you'll see an increase and you'll see a growth. And that's how this business works. But some days you get frustrated and you start to have self-doubt about yourself because you're wondering, like, damn, am I doing something wrong? And you're wondering, why aren't people watching my stuff? But
Yep.
it's not you. It's the fact that a lot of people are not seeing it all the time.
Yep. It's just getting it out there.
Right,
That's the
right,
hardest part is getting it out
right,
there.
right, exactly.
But by making connections like we have and have made and stuff, that's how you get your name out there more.
Yeah. Yep.
But, all right, man. I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate everybody watching tonight. We will be back for GSR. We won't be back to Wednesday because I'm not going to do a show Monday night, since Monday's the 4th. So for GSR, we'll be back Wednesday. Easy Money and Sports Betting Show and the ASAP Afternoon Blitz will be back on Tuesday. I thank everybody for joining us, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great 4th of July. Be safe. If you drink, don't drive because it's not worth it.
Nope.
But everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy your holiday. And Jonathan, happy 4th of July to you if I don't speak to you before then.
Happy 4th of July to you as well if I don't speak to you before then as well, man. Have
All
a
right,
great
man.
weekend. Be safe and stay positive and be careful with the fireworks. They could be dangerous.
Oh, yeah, they can.
But have fun.
All right. All right, man. You have a good weekend. Thanks for joining us.
You
We'll
too,
see you
man.
guys next week. Peace.
All right.